Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into just one chapter of the Bible, Deuteronomy 22.
Mm.
And if you've looked at ancient texts like this before, you know they can be, well, a real mix. You get these everyday life things right next to really serious legal matters.
Absolutely. Deuteronomy 22 is a prime example. It jumps around quite a bit.
Yeah, it covers everything from, helping out a neighbor to some pretty intense laws about sex and justice. So our plan is to really unpack these rules, see what they tell us about their world, their values.
Right. We'll try to sort of walk through and see what pops out. What's striking, I think, is how it blends things we'd keep separate today. Civil rules, maybe religious purity ideas, criminal law.
Yeah.
It's all in there together.
It forces you to look at it differently, doesn't it? Like their whole world was under this one big framework.
Exactly. A single set of expectations, you could say.
Okay, so let's jump right into the first part then. Verses 1 to 4 seem really practical, focused on community, responsibility, helping each other out.
That's right. It starts with very specific situations. What do you do if you find your neighbor's animal or property?
And it's really direct, like if you see your brother's ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it. Simple as that. Take it back.
Yeah, and it's not just oxen or sheep. It mentions donkeys, cloaks, basically anything your brother loses. And the main point, repeated, is do not ignore it.
So it's not just, hey, be honest if someone asks. It's like you have a duty to step in.
Precisely. It's an active obligation. And there's even a procedure, right? If you don't know who the owner is or they're far away, you take the item home. Keep it safe.
Until they come looking for it, then you give it back. It sets up this clear expectation in the community. Finders keepers is definitely not the rule here.
Not at all. It's active neighborliness, like you said. And it goes beyond just lost property, too. Verse 4 talks about seeing a neighbor's donkey or ox fallen down on the road.
Ah, right. And again, the command is...
Do not ignore it. But here the action is specific. Help him get it to its feet.
So it's not just about property return. It's about giving actual physical help when someone's in a tight spot, maybe stuck with their livelihood on the line.
Yeah, immediate assistance for a practical problem. It's baked right into their law.
That level of community support feels really foundational. Okay, so after these very down-to-earth rules about helping neighbors with animals and stuff, there's kind of a shift, isn't there? We get this rule about birds.
Yes, verses 6 and 7, the bird's nest rule. If you find a nest, mother bird on the young, or eggs, you can take the young ones,
Wow.
but be sure to let the mother go. That part's emphasized.
And there's a reason given, which is interesting. So that it may go well with you and you may have a long life.
Right. Connecting this small act, letting a mother bird go directly to your own well-being, your lifespan, that's significant.
It really broadens the scope, doesn't it?
Right.
It suggests how they treated nature, even small parts of it, was tied into their idea of, like, living right, getting blessed.
It does seem that way. It expands that sense of responsibility beyond just people and their property.
Yeah.
Maybe towards the creative world itself, in a way. It's not just a suggestion. It's a command with a promised benefit.
So yeah, from helping a donkey to letting a bird go free, all framed as serious instructions, sets the stage for the rest of the chapter, really.
Which takes us into another set of rules that feel quite different again. These seem more focused on maintaining categories, order, maybe separation, and safety too.
Okay, so right after the bird's nest, verse 5 hits us with something completely different. Clothing.
Yes, a woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing.
And the language is strong. The Lord your God detests anyone who does this. That's
Yeah.
intense for clothing choices.
It is intense. It really underscores how important maintaining clear gender distinctions in terms of appearance and identity was in their social structure. Blurring those lines was seen as, well, detestable, a disruption of order.
Then another sharp turn, verse 8 talks about building a house.
A new house, specifically. Make a parapet around your roof.
A parapet, like
Yeah.
a low wall or railing.
Exactly. And the reason given is incredibly practical and stark. So that you may not bring the guilt of bloodshed on your house if someone falls from the roof.
Wow. So a building code violation isn't just a fine, it's potentially bringing blood guilt on your whole family. That connects safety regulations directly to moral responsibility.
It shows how seriously they took practical safety measures to protect life. Failure to take precautions had massive implications. It's woven right into their religious and legal framework.
Okay, so building safety, then we get these rules about mixing things. Verse 9.
Do not plant two kinds of seed in your vineyard. And if you do,
The consequence is all that you plant and the fruit. will be defiled.
Right. Defiled probably means it becomes ritually unusable, maybe can't be offered or consumed the usual way. It's a ban on certain agricultural mixes,
Then verse 10, do not plow with an ox and a donkey yoked together.
which, makes some practical sense. They're different animals, different strengths, gaits. That wouldn't work well. Bad for the animals, bad for the farmer.
So it may be practical, but it also fits this pattern of not mixing different kinds.
It seems to. And then comes the one many people know, verse 11.
The Shatnez rule. Do not wear clothes of wool and linen woven together.
Exactly. So these mixing prohibitions, seeds, work animals, fabrics, they all seem to point towards this value of keeping things distinct, maintaining categories. Some might have practical roots. Others, like the wool and linen, seem more symbolic or ritual about purity and separation.
And right after banning that mixture, verse 12 gives a positive command about clothes. Make tassels on the four corners of the cloak you wear.
So a specific instruction on how their clothes should look, a visible marker.
Right, so if you take this whole section together, the cross-dressing ban, the roof safety rule, no mixing seeds or animals or fabrics, plus the tassels, what's the common thread?
Well, it suggests a worldview really concerned with order, maintaining boundaries between categories, male, female, different kinds of plants or animals, maybe even symbolizing Israel's distinctness, plus practical safety woven in, and using visible things like clothing tassels as maybe reminders or identity markers.
It's a fascinating mix, isn't it? Practical safety right alongside symbolic rules, all presented as part of the same divine law.
It really is. And that leads us into the final and often the most challenging section of the chapter.
Yeah, verses 13 to 30, this deals with sexual conduct, marriage, justice, and the laws get very serious very quickly.
Extremely serious. The consequences here can be fatal. It kicks off with this really complex scenario. A man marries a woman, and then right after accuses her of not being a virgin when they married.
Verses 13 to 15 describe this. He basically slanders her, gives her a bad name, saying, I married her, but she wasn't a virgin.
And there's a specific legal process. Proof is required. The girl's parents have to step in. They bring evidence to the town elders at the gate, which was like their public square or courthouse.
Yeah. And the proof, the text is very explicit. It talks about the parents displaying the cloth before the elders. Verse 17 says, here is the proof of my daughter's virginity showing this cloth.
Right. And everything hinges on whether this accusation is proven true or false based on that evidence, if the charge is false.
Then the man is in big trouble. Verses 18 to 19 say the elders punish him maybe publicly, maybe physically. He pays a hefty fine, 100 silver shekels to her father, and crucially...
He can never divorce her for his whole life.
So that's actually a pretty strong protection for the woman against a false accusation, isn't it? It secures her marriage and punishes the slanderer significantly.
It is. It's designed to protect her reputation and status if she's been wrongly accused, if the charge turns out to be true.
It's completely different. Verses 20-21 are stark. If the proof of virginity isn't there, the girl is taken to her father's house and the men of the town stone her to death.
Yeah, the reason given is she has done a disgraceful thing by being promiscuous while still in her father's house. And you see that phrase again.
You must purge the evil from among you. It just hammers home how absolutely central female premarital virginity was to their idea of family honor, community purity, everything.
It was clearly non-negotiable in their code for women.
Okay,
then the chapter moves to adultery, verse 22.
If a man is found sleeping with another man's wife, both the man and the woman must die.
So here, both parties face the death penalty for adultery. And again, the justification is...
You must purge the evil from Israel, maintaining the sanctity of marriage and community order.
Right. Then the laws get even more specific, dealing with sex involving a betrothed virgin, someone engaged but not yet fully married, and the location matters.
Okay, so verses 23-24. If it happens in a town, a man meets a betrothed virgin, sleeps with her.
Both die, stoned at the town gate. And the text explains why the girl is considered culpable in town.
Yeah.
Because she was in a town and did not scream for help.
The assumption is if she didn't want it, being in town meant she could have screamed, someone would have heard. Silence implies consent in that specific setting.
That seems to be the logic. And again, purge the evil. But contrast that with the next scenario, verses 25-27, if it happens out in the country.
Right. Man meets a betrothed girl in the countryside, and the text uses the word rapes her.
Yes. And the outcome is totally different. Only the man dies. The girl is explicitly innocent. Do nothing to the girl. She has committed no sin deserving death.
Her situation is compared to someone being murdered. Why the difference?
The text says he found her in the country, he raped her, and crucially, though the betrothed girl screamed, there was no one to rescue her.
That distinction is huge. The law recognizes the difference between implied consent, by silence in town, and force or rape, where help wasn't possible even if she resisted.
Exactly. It acknowledges the reality of coercion and lack of opportunity for rescue in certain situations and absolves the victim in that case. It's a complex distinction within a very harsh system.
Definitely. Okay, what about sex with an unbetrothed virgin versus 2829?
All right, so this is a virgin who isn't pledged to anyone. If a man sleeps with her and they're discovered, he has to pay her father 50 shekels.
Yeah.
He must marry her because the text says he has violated her, and again, he must never divorce her.
So this seems aimed at, what, providing for her, rectifying her status by forcing marriage.
It looks like that, requiring the man to take responsibility, provide for her future since her status has changed. But it does so by mandating marriage. It's different from the betrothed cases, maybe because she wasn't already legally linked to another family.
Okay, and the very last rule in this section, verse 30.
A simple prohibition. A man is not to marry his father's wife. Basically, don't marry your stepmother. The reason given, he must not dishonor his father's bed.
So pulling this whole intense section together, wow, it's a really detailed and severe system.
It is. And you see how consequences shift based on all these factors. Was she married, betrothed, or neither? Did it happen in town or country? Was there evidence? Did she scream? Was it slander, adultery, rape, something else? It paints a picture of a society with very rigid structures around sex, marriage, virginity, and honor, and a legal system trying to enforce that, often brutally.
It certainly gives a very clear, if stark, view of their priorities and how they handled these incredibly sensitive issues. Okay, so we've walked through rules about lost donkeys, bird nests, safety railings, mixed fabrics, and now these really heavy laws on sexual conduct. How does this all hang together in one chapter? It feels like such a jumble.
Well, that's maybe the key point. Ancient law codes often did look like a jumble to our modern eyes. They didn't necessarily categorize things the way we do civil law here, criminal law there, religious rules somewhere else.
Ah, so it was more integrated.
Exactly. It seems to reflect a more holistic worldview, where everything, farming, building, community relations, personal conduct, ritual practice, it was all seen as part of living under God's authority, part of what made for an ordered, blessed community.
So the same basic concerns, order, boundaries, community standards might apply across all these different areas, even if the rules look really different.
That seems plausible.
Yeah.
Looking at these specifics, even the surprising ones, tells us a lot about what they valued and what challenges they faced. You see the emphasis on community support, on clear distinctions, on safety, and obviously a very strict code around marriage and sex.
Right. I'm reading this for you listening. It's valuable because it's like opening a window onto a very different time and culture.
Yeah, it helps us see maybe the historical roots of some legal or ethical ideas, but also just how differently core concepts like justice or community could be expressed. It makes you realize our own ways aren't the only ways.
Definitely challenges assumptions. So we've gone deep into Deuteronomy 22, the lost property, the bird's nest, the parapet, the complex rules and punishments around sex. And digging into those details hopefully gives a richer sense of this ancient society's values and structure.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Considering this huge range in just one chapter, from helping a fallen donkey to life and death laws about sex, what does that tell us about how they understood holiness or right living?
Yeah.
It seems like it covered everything. The mundane, the practical, the social, the intensely personal. It kind of pushes us to think about what our laws, our social rules actually prioritize today. What do we consider essential for the community's well-being?